Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. Today I want to talk about data privacy and 5G networks. Currently around the world, nations are racing to implement 5G technology, and in order to do that, they have to do that with infrastructure. Currently, the leaders in 5G infrastructure happen to be Huawei in China, Erikson and Nokia that are both in the EU. Because Huawei has such a head start in terms of 5G infrastructure around the world, it is an issue, or has been an issue, especially with the US, about having Huawei infrastructure used in the US. As a result, the US this year has banned the Huawei infrastructure within the US, and also has put export controls on companies that supply Huawei with other equipment like chips and things like that. Other countries are considering whether they want to use Huawei for infrastructure or not. Currently in Britain, they decided, actually they had started a implementation and decided that as of December 31st, they will stop trying to use this infrastructure, except for anything that's considered non-core, and that within a few years, they want to be able to replace or remove anything that they've installed thus far for that. Other countries are still trying to weigh in or trying to decide whether they want to use Huawei or not. They are ahead of the pack in terms of infrastructure. Their infrastructure tends to be fast and also a lesser cost than some of their competitors. So it's definitely a concern around the world in terms of what companies will definitely try to choose which company or not. The big concern with Huawei and other infrastructure people that are using 5G networks or trying to implement them is national security and data privacy. So there was a concern, especially because Huawei is a Chinese company and is funded partially by the Chinese government, that there may be national security concerns with the data that goes across, and also that people's data or customers' data may be used for surveillance or eavesdropping. It will be interesting to see how this plays out, as there are other players in the market that are also racing to be able to supply the world with infrastructure for 5G networks. As you know or may not know, 5G is supposed to be up to 100 times faster than 4G, what we're currently using now. The technology tends to be cheaper in terms of the way it is implemented, especially because a lot of the changes in configuration can be made in software, not necessarily in hardware. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. People are waiting to see what Germany especially is going to do, because Germany has very strong ties to China, and Germany is also very influential in Europe. India currently is trying to decide whether they're going to create their own 5G networks or technologies, or whether they're going to go with another vendor to be able to build it. But one of the things that people are excited about 5G is that it will be able to do things like download movies instead of in minutes and seconds. It will be able to enable certain satellite technologies to be able to be used that were not previously or could not be used currently on 4G networks. And also it expands the bandwidth for a lot of Internet of Things items that people are using, including things like autonomous cars, like smart speakers, smart appliances, and things around the home. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.